is the Spotlight. Welcome to another exciting season of the Spotlight, where we turn the spotlight on the arts. I'm Kevin Perry, your host for the show, and we are so excited to bring you the best in arts and education here in St. Lucie Public Schools. We have an array of guests that will come on the show this year, with bringing many of our students that will perform for you in hopes that you would get out and see these students do the very things that excites them as they're students in our schools, ambassadors for our school, as we keep the arts alive here in St. Lucie Public Schools. Each Friday night, it's football season, and you have an opportunity to see our wonderful bands in action on a Thursday or Friday night, either at our South County Stadium or at the Longwood Stadium. And we would hope that you would be in the stands, rooting them on, cheering them on every time the band takes the field. Face it, it's football season. No one watches the football game until after the band performs. And with us today is one of our fantastic band directors from St. Lucie West High School, Mr. Brian Hoce. Mr. Hoce, welcome to our show.
Hey, Dr. Perry. Nice to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you on our show. But just in case we have some of our viewing audience that does not know who Brian Hoce is, give us a brief rundown of your bio.
Well, I'm in my fourth year of teaching in public schools. I've been a private instructor for the last 15 years, teaching music, various instruments. But I didn't come from an education background completely. I actually was a plumbing contractor in the state of Florida for 17 years before I decided to go back to school and get a college degree and pursue what I wanted to do when I was a high schooler myself.
Tell us, where were you in high school?
I went to a school in Broward County called Coconut Creek High School. My band director's name was Mr. Jeff Ayers, probably one of the most inspirational people I ever met in my life.
And what's your instrument? Let's start with your primary and give us your other instruments. Yeah, I know. I saw the look.
Let's see. Primary instrument, I started as a trumpet player in 7th grade. And after 7th grade, 8th grade, I played trumpet and a little bit of drums in the jazz band. I went to high school and picked up French horn, played trumpet, percussion, and did that through high school. And then once I got out, I picked up string bass and electric bass and play guitar, and I sang and far too many things.
So what would you call your primary instrument at this time?
Oh my. Probably a French horn player.
Okay.
If I had to guess.
Hey,
yeah, well,
it's okay with me. I'm a French horn player.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm the principal French horn player in the Stewart Community Band, so okay. I guess that would make it my primary instrument.
That's what you're doing a lot of.
Yeah.
I find these days I'm doing more singing than anything, so I guess that's really my primary.
There you go.
Mr. Hoce, this idea of a band director or a music instructor or instrumental music director, how would you define what you do?
Well, it's more than just the music. A greater man than I taught me that there is more to having a superior program than just blowing air and pushing buttons or singing the right notes or doing that. You have to build the right kind of character in order to have a successful group. And what I'm most concerned about is the students need to feel successful. We have very many things and opportunities that the students could run into roadblocks with lots of parts of their education. So to have it a spot where they could go and create their own success based on their efforts is really, really great, and it gives them an opportunity to kind of grow in a way that they're not used to.
I know we used to say musicianship and character is our name.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about the eighth notes, the quarter notes, the fortissimos, but it's about who I am when I'm with people and how I respond to them.
Well, I explain to the students all the time, when you perform something, if it's not performed with a measure of passion, if you can't put yourself into the music, then it turns out to be a performance that would be less than desirable to see, because it's lacking the luster that the music or anything would require.
When we looked at your byline up under your picture, it'll say band and choral director at St. Lucie West Centennial High School. Give us a little bit about that band and choral.
It's an interesting dynamic. I have 2 sections of chorus that I teach, a more of an introductory level chorus,
Okay.
and then I have a smaller, more advanced chorus that work, and they're a unique group of students because rather than taking the complete traditional approach to how we're doing that, a lot of times these students, they were told when they were a lot younger, a lot less physically developed, that, well, this is where you sing. This is where you sing.
No, they're changing now.
Yeah, so rather than just go, okay, well, we have all of these soprano people or we have all these alto people, what I've done is I've given them each an assignment. They have to prepare a piece on their own. And they have to find their version and their own personal voice within this piece of music. And it's a test grade. It's something that they're going to have a period of time to work on. But it's a unique balance because the day will normally consist of a color guard class that's mixed with percussion, so the two work together, and then then there's a jazz band by itself. I have 3 concert band classes, and then I have the 2 chorus classes.
That was my next questions. I know you teach multiple ensembles, so tell us a little about what happens in the jazz band class and what happens in the percussion guard class.
Okay, jazz band is its own unique thing or life of its own because
it don't mean a thing
if it ain't got that swing. Come on now.
Yeah.
The jazz band, I tell them all the time, I say, everything that I teach you in the concert band class does not apply here.
Yeah.
And they look at me and they go, huh?
Almost opposites.
And I have to explain to them there's a completely different language. There's a way that you have to feel and interpret the music that is different. Something that I find very effective in doing that is I will reach back and find as many of the real classics, standards that most jazz bands and stage bands would use. Count Basie charts like April in Paris or
Route 66.
Route 66, Duke Ellington charts like Such Sweet Thunder, which I use that chart and then I use it as an opportunity to teach them something about literature because the chart is based on the Shakespearean play Othello. And it tells the entire story of Othello throughout the chart.
So, Mr. Hoce, what you're telling me is that there is some history, what we traditionally know as school history, social studies, and there is some reading, language arts in music class?
Absolutely, absolutely. Something that when I taught at middle school, what I used and used the beginning and learnings of sight reading and reading in general of music is we use it to help develop fluency and a cadence, if you will, to the way that you read even a book. If a student is struggling with just opening up a book and they're looking at one word at a time, what we do is we use the reading of sheet music and maintaining a tempo to help them understand that they've got to look at groupings of things and groupings of notes and above and beyond and to see more of the context of it. And it helps them with that. And I've seen numerous students that have gone from being a remedial reader after a year or two of band to being without a reading class or into an advanced literature class even, depending on how far they get into it.
So how often do you use program notes, if I may use that term, to help students understand the background of the music that they may be performing?
Daily. Everything's got a story.
Everything has a story.
Everything has a story.
Yeah.
Every piece of music, everything has a nuance, and it came from somewhere. This past spring, I worked with St. Lucie West Centennial even before I would work there, and they had played a piece of music called Overture for Winds. And we took that piece of music. It was written by a man by the name of Charlie Carter, amazing composer. He's from Florida State University. And it was neat to have people in the room who had actually worked with Charlie Carter, who knew the mind of Charlie Carter, and who were able to express to them that this came from somewhere. Every note on the page is deliberate. There's no accidents here. And it says something. And when the kids get to that point, they're taking it in, and it's a little deeper than, like I said, blowing air and pushing buttons.
Well, chronologically, we'll find that oftentimes in music, in the arts, they depict what's going on in the world or a specific part of history, so it's natural to integrate those two things together. Next question, Mr. Hoce, before time gets away from us. Why is it important to encourage all students to participate in music or the arts?
Well, arts is a means of expression, and more than anything, students need that outlet. They have to have an outlet. They have to have that place where they can feel safe in expressing themselves without a level of judgment. And a lot of times, our students they're not verbal when they express themselves. They'll get frustrated and just, what's the matter? Nothing, I'm fine. That doesn't work. But you can tell that this person is being affected by something in the way that they play their music, or they'll sing a passage from something, and it strikes a chord with them, and it creates a deeper feeling within the music that they're working on.
I know it's marching band season.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about this idea of marching band.
Well, marching band, there are a couple of schools of thought. My personal favorite school of thought is that a marching band is a football band. We are there to support the athletics. We're there to provide entertainment throughout the entire game, not just a halftime show, but the halftime show has to be the highlight.
The highlight of the football game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the only reason they really come.
That's the only reason why we come to a football game, to see the band, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you're looking at football band, also when you're looking at band in general, how do you go about making decisions about musical selections for each ensemble?
It comes from knowing your players. It's and if I could use a sports analogy, you have to know your players. You have to know where your strengths are. You have to know what things you need to work a little harder on to bring up to the level and standard in which you want to maintain things at. The common thought is that you could, well, this is the way I think anyways. Forget common. This is the way I think. You need to stretch your kids every now and again. Staying in the safe zone.
They need a challenge.
They won't grow. One of my favorite composers, and he's just incredible. His name's Quincy Jones. Says it this way: you have to swim in water a little deeper than you're used to. That way you can grow through the experience. I will put these kids out there and say, okay, we're going to read this, and here we go, and pump them up for it, and they're going to do the best they can on it. And if they don't do great at it, well, that's okay. But you start to learn where their strengths are. You start to see where some will do really great at and others need some more help, and you can use that and knowledge of what you know of literature and what your colleagues know of literature to be able to make intelligent choices to set the kids up for success.
So what's the theme of this year's marching band show for the Eagle Regiment at St. Lucie West Centennial High?
The name of the show is called Rock Art. It is basically a pop music show. It's pretty flashy. It's loud. I like loud. And
you're a rocker, we know.
Yeah, well, that's where the hair went.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. The kids are enjoying playing music that's recognizable to them. They're enjoying playing things that are closer in genre to things that they would be used to listening to.
And what are the show tunes?
The opening is basically a transcription of a medley of songs from Daft Punk. Pentatonics had done it originally. It's called the Daft Punk Medley, and that's the opener. And then the middle song, the production number, is a song called Pompeii. It's from Bastille. And then we close with a song called My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark by the group Fall Out Boy.
Wow. Well, now, I know that when we look at marching bands, it doesn't start with just the people on the field. There's a whole bunch of design that goes in.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we have some footage of drill design. So let's take a look at some of that footage, and then we'll come back on the other side and let you tell us about those dots and those X's and those O's and how we're moving people across the field. Let's take a look at some drill design.
And now let's have a little bit more of that Eagle pride with the Eagle Fight Song.
So, Mr. Hoce, tell us about that little drill design and those little dots and X's and O's. And
What you're looking at is you're looking at a digital rendering of what the band should look like if they make all of these spots and we have all of the personnel and everything wonderfully falls into place the way that the computer says it should. There's a human side to this that we have to do, where we have to adjust because we may or may not have every spot filled. We may have too many students, and so we have to go and adjust our drill accordingly to where we can still make the picture and fit everybody in, and the spacing has to be correct, and their feet have to be on the right step, and the flag has to be held in the correct position, and the horn angles have to be correct, and there's more to it than just go from this spot to that spot and play some music while you're going.
you said something very important when we look at drill design. Back in the day, there was a lot of boxes and squares and triangles and diamonds and step two-man drills. Very different today.
Oh yes, lots of curves, lots of three paces between, instead of a 2-pace interval or a 4-pace interval. Not very symmetrical. It's very, you wonder when you purchase a drill that has been written for you, you wonder what the person was looking at or thinking about. I remember looking at a drill one time for a show I was working on, and it was really evident that the person who wrote the drill had just seen a Transformers movie the day before, because it looked like a Autobot or a Decepticon face on the field. It was really something.
When we're talking about marching band, talking about drill, and we just look at some footage and know that it's very different from where marching band came from, military kind of precision. We don't just see people playing horns or playing drums. We have pit crew. Explain what all we see in a marching band in your show.
Well, in our show, we have a pit down front. We have about 10 people in our pit. I have an electric bass player on the sideline. We have various mallet instruments that are just too large to carry around. We couldn't wear a harness and wear a full marimba.
Yeah.
That would kill someone. But we've got marimba, vibes, bells. We have an auxiliary percussion rack. We have affectionately started to refer to it as the Hobbit hole, because it's set up in such a way to where once you're in, you get in and you're there until we're done, and then you can come out.
So one person is playing those multiple.
And we have two. We have two people in there, and they just it's all kind of set up around, and they just from one spot to the next. There's a gong behind them and a bass drum, and they move around quite a bit, and that's the pit. We have a color guard that artistically accents what the band is doing. They use various hit points throughout the music to display with flag movement and color and choreography, kind of it makes it more pleasing to the eye. Draws your eye to it, and it's a pleasing aesthetic to go along with the performance of the music.
Yeah, we like to think that the auxiliary crew would be the visual artists to what's happening with the band. If you had an opportunity to talk to a parent, and we're going to come back to some more marching band, but because I know you have to deal with parent organizations and they have conversations with parents all the time, what would you say to a parent to entice that parent to ensure that their child stayed in music or in the arts, I like to refer to?
Well, the arts is most parents are concerned about, you know, is my kid going to college? Is my kid doing this? Is my student going to really do this going forward? And a lot of times parents are only looking at college and they think of only the academic side of things. They don't look at it and go, you know what, they can use this to help them get through the other side. If the parents can slow down enough to see the benefits that the student is getting from being part of the organization, and then it would be up to the director or even other parents to help them understand that that would help them on the other side in their university career as well.
We know that in music class you learn about the fortissimos, the pianissimos, the eighth note, quarter note, 16 notes, but we like to think as musicians that the arts teach other lessons to students. What kind of other life lessons do you think the arts teach?
Discipline's the big one. Mm-hmm. Self-discipline, and through that self-discipline, you build some self-esteem, and those are the two that really jump out up front to me. Because if someone's going to show the self-discipline to learn their music, if someone's going to do what it takes in order to learn where they have to be on the field in the right spot, do what they have to do, and then do it with a willing attitude to do it, they'll feel success. They'll be successful. And once they're successful, the self-esteem comes in. And they start to build self-esteem in what they're doing there. And they're able to transfer that into the other parts of their education and really their lives.
Yeah, they're able to make good judgments. Mm-hmm. They work collaboratively in teams. So all of those aspects that are natural in the arts classroom kind of transfer over to the band. We saw that footage of the drill design, but I think it will be neat if we took a pause and actually looked at the band in action,
sure,
doing what we saw. So kind of set this up and let us know what we're going to see when the band enters the field, comes on the field. What are we going to see?
If you're looking at it's the YouTube clip of the opening game. We come onto the field. We do a in-zone entrance because we're spread out pretty far across the field. So we come and we find our very first spot right from each side. The percussion comes on from the back along with the low voices. And then the drum major does a salute, lets us know that it's time to get started. They come up, and what they're playing, I believe, is the opener.
Okay. Let's take a pause in the spotlight right now and spotlight the St. Lucie Centennial High School Eagle Regiment Marching Band in their opening show for Rock
Art.
Their fall show, Rock Art. Band captain, Valerie Spradlin. Drum major, Brandon Pasquins. Guard captain, Alexis Pride Rodriguez. Band lieutenant, Erica Goldberg. Guard lieutenant, Christina Lambert. And executive secretary, Kylie Coons. This evening, the band will perform the first movement of their show. This is the Daft Punk medley. Drum major, is your band ready? St. Lucie West Centennial, you may begin your show.
Mr. Hoce, that's exciting. And that doesn't look like it's all of the show.
No, it's actually not even all of the opener.
Okay.
We stop. There are each spot that they have to stop or find as we're teaching it is what's called a set, and each set there's about 17 sets in the first movement. That particular song, we stopped at set 11 there. So we stopped at set 11. It was almost a circle.
Okay.
They're working on it.
Okay.
It's a work in progress.
So when will we see the complete show?
We hope to have our show completed on the field, and we'll be in what we lovingly call the cleaning and enhancing stage of things by the 30th of September. That's when Vero Beach High School is coming to visit us at South County.
So you better be ready for the fight.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
So besides our football games, I know there's some marching festivals and contests that may be coming up that our viewing audience can see. Can you highlight just a couple of those?
Sure. For marching band, there are two locally that are really, really, really important. In October on the 15th, we have the Crown Jewel Festival that is held at Vero Beach High School at Billy Living's Field. You'll see quite a few bands there for that. Starts at 8 in the morning, goes all the way till 6. And then on November 5th, it's our marching evaluation at Jensen Beach High School.
Okay, just one last question. When it comes to teaching and students and music, what do you know for sure?
The kids won't be able to be normal without it.
No. It is a lifelong skill. We thank you for sharing the St. Lucie West Centennial Eagle Regiment Marching Band with us here as we turn the spotlight on the arts. Thank this fabulous crew here at our studio, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on The Spotlight, where we turn the spotlight on the arts.